It's Tuesday, November 21st, and you're listening to the Beer Temple podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Quinn, and I'm joined by your other co-host, also my other co-host, the other co-host, Mike Shalau.
Hello.
What's up? How'd you like that fade?
It's one of the top, probably 300 fades.
Yeah, easily.
Easily top 300.
Yeah.
Top 200, maybe.
Yeah, top 200.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe first 100 shows.
We're Logan.
Yeah.
Terrible fades in those shows.
Yeah. He didn't believe in the school of
He
fade.
didn't believe in us.
Yeah.
Mostly.
But, well, doing well.
Yeah. Car's still in the shop. I did get someone who
man.
emailed me to get the correct Venmo for the car fund that I talked about. So I don't think I can take his money.
That's funny.
Yeah. It was a very kind gesture.
Yes. I'm still very high on the Eagles beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium yesterday.
That could have gone a couple different ways with the pace
right.
you were taking.
Right, yes, true. No.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you. I watched it here, and it was somewhat annoying, I think, to the other people there, but it was okay, I hope, overall.
Does Taylor Swift have to switch brothers now?
I think so.
Legally.
But I think Jason, he's taken.
Oh,
you know?
sure.
So he's a married man. So
Yeah.
he's off.
She's off
the
hook
market.
then,
Yeah. I didn't think about it at the time, but yeah, she must not have been at the game because there were no cuts to her. And if she was at the game, it probably would have been a picture-in-picture.
She's dealing with some stuff right now.
Okay, got it.
Someone at her Brazil show.
Got it. Okay, she's out of the country doing a tour. Got it. Yep. So I'm pretty happy about that. Was not. No, I'm pretty ambivalent about her. My kids like her.
Good to know.
So, yeah. So I'm doing well on that end. Yeah.
Nice. I was in Colorado this past weekend.
That's cool.
I went to Bierstadt, had a beer.
Yep.
Went to Cohesion, had a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Hogshead, had a beer.
Cool.
And then did a bunch of wedding stuff for my cousin.
What was your favorite beer you had while in Colorado? If you had to pick one.
Coors Banquet beer, baby.
Okay. For real, was it your favorite?
I would have driven across many states in a big rig to get it.
Oh, well, now
was my favorite. The Slow Pour Pils was fantastic. The vibe was not for me.
Okay. Do they have anything on Lucre there?
Everything's on Lucre there.
What, at Bierstadt?
Yeah.
They do slow pours from a Lucre?
Yeah.
Isn't that completely stupid?
I think so. But, I mean, it's almost Goldfinger.
Wow. They do. Their whole thing is slow pour, which you do not need a Lucre for.
I'm not an expert, so.
You certainly don't need a Lucre for slow pour.
No.
100%.
I don't think so.
You don't.
Yeah.
You need a Lucre for some of the pours that Lucres do, but okay, well.
Cohesion had all Lucres as well.
All Lucres.
But they're I mean, they've probably had 6 or 7 things on draft. But they're a specific Czech lager brewery.
Right.
And they do like all the different pours. Right. And they were talking to us about like the wet foam being different and stuff. It was
We're familiar with the talking points.
I loved that beer. I can't pronounce it, but I think I just had the Tamavi 12.
Got it.
Plato Lager, whatever that one's called, Tamavi Pivo or whatever.
Should we introduce our guest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Why don't you go for it?
Shana. Solarte, is that
Yeah.
correct pronunciation?
Yeah.
Nice. Of Omega. Of anything else you would like us to...
Of this show many times.
Yeah, this show many times. One of the funniest guests.
We have you on for a lot of the crazy shows, as you've mentioned before. And then we had you on one time for a serious show.
The most downer show.
And then it was a super downer. So we're like, yeah, let's get back to what we
get back
know
to
and
that.
have silly shows.
Spoiler
Crazy
alert
shows.
for everyone.
Right,
This
it's
is
true.
not a serious show.
Another
it's-
downer.
Well, it's a serious, yeah. It's
Serious.
A,
Well,
it's,
well,
a, it's
well-
a funny downer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's
The best kind.
yeah. When someone falls and you point and laugh at them.
Sad clown.
Right.
shows.
Right.
That's basically what our vibes are, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sad clown
Sad
vibes.
clown show.
Yeah, I think so.
Or angry clown shows.
Yeah. But
Give it time.
Yeah.
yeah. Are you a fan of any of those breweries? Hogshead, Cohesion, Bierstadt?
Those are the three breweries I go to when I'm in Denver.
I've never
And
been to Cohesion, I don't think.
They're newer.
It's new. They opened in, I think, 2021.
Okay. Yeah.
So
no,
they
I
haven't been
there.
around much. But being in the beer biz, I tend to go to Denver at least once a year. So
Sure, right.
I've been to a lot of breweries there, and those are the ones that I always hit. It used to just be Bierstadt and Hogshead. Then Cohesion came around. Always go there. I love Hogshead. I think it's just like a great neighborhood joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's cool.
cask beer forever.
Cask beer forever.
Yep. On a Luker? Are they pouring from a Luker?
Yeah, cask Luker.
Side
actually-
pull cask beer.
That
Yeah.
would be amazing
Just
if you
cranking that thing.
Yeah. It'd be great if you could get a Luker that you could tap into, like directly into a cask.
Oh, I'm sure we could
And
figure it
then-
out.
I know you can do
Do
it,
it.
could
Chris.
figure it out.
Yeah.
You could absolutely pull that off.
Well, okay. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
then.
you have to. That would be up there with the cask smooge you guys got that one time.
Yeah, that's true. And the domed lids. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I do want to do a Luker cask one time. I want to do a Luker hand pull. I want them both
Yeah,
to be
same.
two hands.
Cranking
It's a
it.
two-handed
just-
thing. You have to set the glass down and then use both hands. To,
Oh, so like
Actuate it.
Yeah,
yeah,
Make sure
you
get
pull
the,
down with
the
you
right
pump
amount
it,
of no foam,
and then you, you pump a
and then you put
Milko.
is there a sparkler on the end of the Luker?
Yes, there's also a sparkler.
Awesome.
Could probably like 3D print one of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know a guy for that
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right,
I got a guy.
Let's do it.
let's do it. Let's make it so.
Then can I
as
beer
Picard
stockle
would say.
that?
Then we beer stockle it at the end.
Can
We
you-
ask what you want precisely, and then have a sparkler on it. So, then we beer stockle.
Would it be possible to hand pump it through a Randall
Ooh.
that then goes through the Luker that comes out of the Randall?
What about a Luker that then drips down into the Randall?
Like an absinthe drip kind
Yes.
of thing? Yeah.
I like all these new dispense ideas.
Yeah.
Serge is about to cut
Yeah,
the recording.
no, Serge knows what's up. He knows our $1 million ideas.
That's right. Trademark.
It's gonna cost
Right.
$1 million to put on.
Right. Yeah, but Luker hand pull, next big thing.
That's right.
You heard it here first. You're going to go to bars. You're going to go to all the cool bars in, like, Brooklyn. And they're all going to be hand pump Lukers. And they're going to cost $1,000 each.
Right.
And they're going to pour you
Hazy IPAs.
a hazy IPA from them. Yeah, exactly.
If you're in Brooklyn, you're getting a hazy IPA.
That's right. So,
Can't wait.
yeah, it's going to be great.
What time to be alive?
Yeah. So anyway, we are here this evening not to talk about our great new business ventures
No.
or to talk about the Eagles. I mean, as much as I would, that's not why we're here.
Not much we can contribute to that one.
Yeah, right.
Well,
But
not much I can. I don't know much.
right, sure.
Yeah. She's saying
We're
yes.
here to talk
Totally am in.
about the arts,
Yeah.
right? We're here to talk about the
Cinema.
arts. Cinema. So it's our first,
Film.
it's our second cinema episode, essentially. So to let people know which film we're going to be discussing. Do you have a little preview of what we're going to be discussing, Mike?
I do indeed.
All right, go for it.
At last, a warm, sensitive, touching story about the close personal relationship between a man and a woman, between a trucker and his dog,
Fred, I'm so damn tired of picking you up. I got to. Fred!
between a father
No way,
and his son.
no way that you could come from my loins.
And how they all took to the road one day for a quiet little drive in the country. From Georgia to Texas and back in 28 hours flat with a truckload of bootleg beer.
I'll be driving this one. Hey, Blocker. You'll be driving the truck. This is Bandit 1, and that is Bandit 2.
Now, who would do a thing like that?
Be crazy, you know that? Yeah, you know that. Yes. How much money did you say it was? $80,000.
Universal presents Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed, and Fred.
We're gonna really have to cook. I mean, put it on the back burner and let's cook. Is that a 10-4?
10-4.
And the only thing that stands between them and an $80,000 prize, Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice.
I gotta barbecue your...
Bandit, I've got a smoky report for you.
What's your handle, son?
My handle is Smokey Bear, and I'm tail grabbing your ass right now.
This is Smokey and the Bandit, the story about a lazy weekend in Alabama, Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia.
Daddy, the top came off.
No.
We ain't gonna make it, son. We come this far, ain't we? Look, when we say we gonna do a job, we do a job. It's me they're after. They don't even know clear snow exists. Oh, they know. Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do.
Smokey and the Bandit, proving once and for all, it's not where you're going that counts. It's who the hell's in back of you.
It's a banger of a song.
Yeah, the soundtrack is a step up from Strange Brew.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit of a.
They both do have their own theme songs, though.
It's true that
You
were
don't
written
you don't
for
do that
them.
as much anymore.
No, I do kind of miss that.
Yeah.
now.
Lost art for sure.
Yeah. Also, I
This
bet
one
you they
was
were.
better, though.
What year was Strange? Did Strange Brew
like
come out?
83, maybe?
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean we're
This is
within
77.
we're within a similar era here, though,
Yeah,
for sure.
Certainly.
Yeah, both very highly regional movies as
Yes.
well.
Very different regions. Yeah, 1983 for Strange Brew, but very different regions,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
hyper-regional.
yes. So where should we begin? Should we just talk about
Do you like the premise of the movie? Like
premise? Sure, we can go over the premise of the movie. The thing is, you can sum up the premise of the movie and basically the entire movie in a few sentences.
Yeah.
Really.
Unlike Strange Brew, which started off as a Hamlet adaptation, I think.
Right.
I don't think this has Shakespearean roots.
And also, like, you have to explain the two brothers
Right.
and all the. This is a guy takes a bet to bootleg beer from the eastern tip of Texas
Right.
back to Georgia.
right. 'Cause Coors
In a
doesn't
certain
make
amount
it
of
there.
time. Yeah, and it's Coors. Yeah, he's bootlegging Coors as part of a bet, essentially. And that's the plot. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just what he's doing.
Right.
And essentially, he goes there and comes back. That's the plot.
We have shenanigans along the
Yeah,
way.
there are shenanigans along the way, but essentially he runs into a runaway bride, and then as a result is
Sally Field.
Yeah, is chased by a local sheriff,
Right.
Jackie Gleason.
Whose son
whose son is the
jilted groom.
Yes. And that's it. And then there's hijinks. But yes, Coors is I guess it plays a central role in the movie, and it's mentioned by name. It isn't just beer; it's specifically Coors,
right? Because it doesn't go east of the Mississippi, is what they're saying, because it doesn't use any stabilizers.
Is that what they said?
I don't know if they say that in the movie, but that's what I was reading some information about the movie at the time. They wouldn't send it east of the Mississippi because there was no stabilizers in it, so they said it would spoil too quickly.
Got it.
Which opens a whole other bag of worms of like, what was it? Just oxidizing? Like, what was going on with that beer?
Yeah, maybe it was, or they just no cold chain.
They were making that up.
Right.
Yeah, no, they definitely, that truck was not refrigerated, that's for sure.
It also didn't need to be because it was in how long? Like 28 hours or something? Yeah, I mean, I think it was okay. Although it was in the South.
Yep. It's hot.
Yeah, it looked like it was probably spring or summer, so
yeah,
probably pretty hot in there. And yeah, so that's it. All right, so next week we have
good show, guys.
Thanks for coming, Shana.
That was fun.
Yeah. So I hadn't seen the movie since I was a little kid. Since it was probably on like network TV being broadcast, rerun on network TV is probably when I saw it.
Same. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, I don't know if I've ever actually seen the whole thing before I watched it yesterday. Because
I'm pretty certain I had not stuck around for the whole thing.
It was just something that's so penetrated the zeitgeist of like American culture.
Yeah.
Even still, everyone knows what Smokey and the Bandit is. And it's such a small movie. Like, it's not like the Avengers, it's like...
No, but I think movies were smaller that year. I looked it up. It was the second top grossing movie of that year.
Right. Big hit. I mean, but the story and the stakes are so low.
Right.
It's not saving the world. He's just trying to get slightly better beer to
saving the universe in the case of the Avengers.
Right, my bad.
But it's nice. I mean, in that way, it was endearing.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'll come out and say, I liked it much, much more than I was expecting to like it.
I agree.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be like, okay, I'm gonna watch this hokey movie, and it was kind of a hokey movie, but it was. Yeah. I mean, it was. I see why it was such a box office hit because it was a good movie. I liked it anyway.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just
fun.
It was a romp.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a romp.
I kind of I had never seen it. I watched it for the first time, and there were definitely references that I caught like you did.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard quotes that I've definitely heard in other TV shows and movies. It's definitely ingrained in the culture.
What were some of them? Can you think?
The one that you mentioned.
The one that, there's no way you came from my loins.
Yeah.
I was like, my dad said that to me.
Definitely heard that before. And
a
then
lot with Jack. Oh, sorry.
Right at the beginning when he's taking the bet and he says, "What do you want all this beer for?" And the guy says, "'Cause he's thirsty."
Yeah.
I've heard that a million times.
I was thinking of the Cartman thing, respect my authority. I mean, that was blatantly stated by Jackie Gleason in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, he does not respect my authority.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow, that's funny. That's a reference.
Right.
And also you could see the cultural. So I was born in 1977, so I didn't see that movie. But I saw a lot of the spin-offs that came from it.
Sure.
I loved the Dukes of Hazzard, and my mom hated the Dukes of Hazzard. So she begrudgingly would let me watch it.
Right. The genre of Southern boys destroying vehicles in
muscle cars and running from the cops
in order to outrun the law is a hilarious thing that had such legs in the 70s and 80s. It's
that's one of the things I realized was, Dukes of Hazzard is just, let's make this huge hit of a movie. Let's just make it into a TV show. Okay. Yeah. Right. So they can't always be on the going across state lines and stuff. We'll just have to have them be in a more localized area. But it is the same concept, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the premise of just like couple of guys being dudes outsmarting
Yeah.
the bumbling cops,
Right.
having fun, getting away
Yeah.
with it. That's
Yeah.
that's infinitely repeatable content.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like in an era where no one was binge watching, like you can't really binge watch that show because it's the same show every show. Like it's the
Right,
same show
right.
every episode.
Right.
When you have to wait a week, you're like, this is great, you know. And
Oh, they're at it again.
yeah, I
Those
can't believe they got
boys.
away.
Right.
They-
Right.
Yeah.
But it was, it was very interesting. So,
Is-
yeah.
Is this the first movie that features some sort of social networking as a central part of the plot? Because it's so like CB radio and people on their CB radios in other trucks and as hobbies, which I guess was the thing then, like coming together to help them outsmart the sheriff. And like it seemed to me like a analog Twitter of people being like, "Oh, he's coming through Alabama now. Like,
Right.
we got to help the bandit."
But instead of it being for a meetup where kids can go wilding,
Yeah, go wilding downtown.
it's it's important stuff. Getting Coors.
Yeah, getting Coors, just driving your car a little
Yeah.
slowly,
Yeah.
diverting a funeral procession because you have
Right.
a CB radio in your hearse.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
So the funny thing was, and it was kind of maybe part of what made it endearing was like the beginning, like the setup was just so so simple, and I mean like just like you said, small stakes. Not really a need for a lot of explanation. You don't need a ton of backstory.
Right.
There was this, I guess, event down in Georgia, which maybe they did, where they would just like race big rigs, and these
Big rigs
people,
and CB radio were like a culture then. It was like a
Right.
thing people were fascinated by.
right? And I don't know which one, like how much that movie helped fuel that. I'm sure it certainly didn't
Gotta
hurt.
be a little bit of both. Right?
Yeah. But then there's these Texans.
In Georgia.
Yeah, in Georgia, rich Texans who I guess owned the racetrack, maybe, or it was also like
They
a
were-
fairground.
They thought they were gonna win the race. They were sponsoring like one of the racers.
Okay, they were sponsoring one of the
One
racers.
of the trucks that was racing. And he's
Got
like,
it.
when we win, I want to celebrate with good beer, Coors.
Right.
The one with no stabilizers, because I care a lot about stabilizers.
And he's from Texas, and I guess that's the beer that he liked to drink.
Shiner must have been pissed. Ouch.
And basically goes up to this legendary bootlegger, I guess. Not bootlegger, but like
Rabble rouser.
outlaw rabble rouser, but
Fast
trucking
driving guy.
trucking guy.
Yeah.
Like
You're saying this like it's not an
like
archetype that we all
skirting,
deal with
like
all the
truckers who skirted the law, which I also think was more of a thing than it currently
Well,
is.
doesn't the movie actually open with them catching someone trying to bootleg
Right.
Coors?
Yeah.
Well, what they say is
establish that this is a thing that this Texan tries to get people to do.
right, and the guy's name was Big Enos, right?
Yeah.
Big Enos put me onto it. It's like, don't you know he tries to put everyone onto this?
Yeah.
So that's also the premise. Is like he's setting up Burt Reynolds, which I don't think we said is the bandit. So
Right.
Burt Reynolds is the bandit. Burt Reynolds in his prime.
Right.
The
Which
mustache.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was never I never understood Burt Reynolds. I always thought he was kind of a dick,
Yeah.
and like as like a millennial who mostly like saw him as like YouTube clips of him being on talk shows where he was being a dick,
Right.
and
And the
watching
Norm
this
Macdonald
movie-
version of him, still one of the greatest impressions
It's a funny
of
name.
Amazing.
all time.
so good. Watching this movie, I get why he was so popular. He's very charismatic in this movie,
Yeah.
and like I don't think it works if it's like someone else from that era. You know,
Yeah.
like Gene Wilder isn't pulling this off.
No, I don't think so.
It'd be a great movie. I'd probably watch
It
it.
would look
but
terrible in that mustache.
Yeah, it's true.
the hair would be a little different.
Right. Right.
Such
So
good
he's being
days.
set up.
Yeah.
He's there, so he gets his partner, and they said, "All right, we'll give you $80,000 if you get us
400 cases.
Yeah, 400 cases of beer. And we'll give you the money for the beer. And we'll give you money to buy a fast car. So these people just have a ton of money. And they don't care. And it was not explained entirely, like, why. They're just big Texas
be oil money, right?
Texas oil money people is what they were. And
they're wearing fancy suits, too.
Yeah, and everyone was kind of
wearing fancy
matching suits.
Yeah.
Matching suits, father,
suits.
son.
Another theme of this movie, father-son duos who do not look at all like each other.
And where, like, the son was kind of more of a fail son.
Yeah.
The fail son.
Did this movie start Fail Sons?
I don't know.
It might have.
I don't know. But definitely there's
There's two
several
of them in there.
fail sons.
Yeah.
One more so than the other.
Right.
I mean, the big Enos's son was just a short fellow, but he wasn't necessarily slow. He wasn't slow, really.
It's also
It's just
like,
annoying.
For a minute, you can't tell. Like, I guess you know it's his son, but you're like, that guy looks old, but just small.
Yeah.
So it's just like a
They
little
looked like
guy
they
that
were
he
the
like hired to
same
like
Yeah.
walk around with him to call him his
And
son.
probably got a giant guy to play Big Enos and got a tiny person to play his son. And for comedic effect, and then so they were there, and then the bandit said, "All right, well, I'm going to run interference. I'm going to run blocker." I think is what he says.
Everyone knows.
Right. So
When you're running a big rig,
right,
smuggling beer, you got to have the big rig and you got to have your blocker.
And basically, what his job was to divert, just rabble rouse and draw all the attention of the law, the heat off the big rig, so it could go. Because if you get hit for that much bootlegging,
It's not good.
not good. But probably not as bad if you get caught for going too fast.
Speed.
Yeah,
Rabble rousing.
Right.
Is rabble rousing against the law?
I don't know. Probably in some of them small towns they were going through.
Some of them small towns, definitely.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happens. And then it's but it was like, well, there were many things just because it was 1977 that I think socially you could not do in a movie today. But there were also like plot things that you couldn't do, like not explain things, I think, in a movie nowadays. Like one of the key elements of the movie is Sally Fields in her prime as a runaway bride.
Yeah.
And that is why Jackie Gleason and his son, the groom, are chasing.
Junior.
And it's never explained.
It's never explicitly said.
To Burt Reynolds. He asks the sheriff at some point, it's like, why are you...
He asks her too, right?
Yeah, and
she's
she
just
won't
like,
say.
she's like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right. Even at the end, by the end, she still has not explained to him that... Because the bandit never sees Junior. Because even at the end, he's not there. And she says no hard feelings. That's all she says to him, but there's no mention of it.
And we know because she's wearing a wedding dress and he's wearing a tuxedo.
And he talks about it. She didn't. She left me. He left me looking like an idiot. She didn't respect my authority, and basically that's what it was. He was pissed off because he looked like a chump because his son got stood up.
Yeah,
and that pissed him off because he was a Texas sheriff, of a town of some size, probably pretty small,
most respected
rural
lawman.
Yeah,
in all the South.
Yeah, 30 years.
Track
record. Yeah,
who would have known who he is outside of that town?
Right.
He says that like a couple of times.
And
most
then
respected
he's
lawman in all the
he's-
South. It's like
He's in another town, and the sheriff in the other town tells him, "You don't have jurisdiction here."
Right.
And he gets all huffy about it.
Right.
He's not even in this. He's not even in his own state anymore.
Right. I do think the movie was very self-aware about that.
What?
I think all that stuff, maybe the stuff about like you could never get away with like Sally Field never telling Burt Reynolds, never being explained why he's being chased. I think that just wouldn't happen in a movie today.
Yeah.
But all that other stuff, and I may have a different take than you guys, because I think that's where this discussion is probably going to go, is about like the culture of that movie was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I think it was, my theory is that it was very self-aware about all that stuff.
Yes.
I think so.
I mean, even for a movie from 1977, I thought it was going to be way worse. Like, I thought it was going to be way more sexist and I thought it was just going to be racist.
Yeah,
right.
I thought I was going to have a hard time getting through it.
You thought there was going to at least be a scene of like blatant racism, but there
Right.
really wasn't.
And it was,
I can recall.
it was a lot of joining together of different genders, races. I guess not really socioeconomic. They are all kind of working class,
right?
Against the authorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it leaned into some stereotypes that like probably wouldn't happen today.
Right.
Right.
But I think that was the extent. There was not much malice,
Right. Yeah.
which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there were certainly things or objectification of Sally Field at certain moments that were
Yes.
would definitely
Especially
not
early
happen.
on.
Would happen differently now. They would probably still happen in some way.
Like
but
her ass wouldn't be like in front of the camera
For,
with
like,
her
a
bending
minute.
over to get into the back,
For, like,
like
a
trying to get
minute
something in
and
the
a
back
half.
seat.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
zoom in on those high cut jeans, you know.
Yeah.
You got
Who
to.
doesn't love
Right.
High cut jeans.
large pockets?
Right.
Check out the stitching.
Right. But
Yeah, it was a lot of, and that's where the CB radio comes in. A lot of people like coming together, like fighting the authority figure, which we were joking about before. Like if this movie took place in the same, stereotypically in the same in the same area, the stereotype would be they would be very pro police.
I have a Punisher sticker on my truck.
Right.
Yeah,
You
the
know.
big rig would be covered in
But it was
Punisher
Right.
sticker.
right. It was so different from that. It was so rebellious. It
Right.
was so
And
the small people joining together to screw the authorities, who were also small town, almost like little feudal lord.
Yeah,
It seemed
little
very
despots.
feudal.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Totally.
every area had their own little person who was in charge of that stuff. And I think that is, to some degree, still how it is, but certainly how it was. I mean, my dad, being an attorney, would talk to me about like the local cops and especially in other towns and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, like they but you know, the sheriff and the judge, like they run that town.
Yeah. I don't know if this is like the intention of the movie, but illustrating the disconnect of those like authority figures across the same like geography that the normal everyman was crossing, and how close the everyday people were, is a very interesting thing to explore. Like this is not a political movie or like even a highly philosophical movie, but
but it made some. It made some. I don't know if it's fair to call them political because they weren't about politics, but it was certainly made some social. I think it called out some social things as like good and bad. I think it was very much like a romance of rural area, but especially the South.
Yeah.
And called out some stuff that sucked about the South, I think, in the authority figures. Like, they kind of represented what sucked. And there were some other elements, too. And the other people were kind of like what was, like, good and real and genuine about the South.
Yeah. And I'm not.
At least that's how I saw it.
I'm not from the South. I haven't spent much time in the South, but at that time, you know, in the 70s, there certainly was this Southern character, like with like Leonard Skinner and all that kind of like this
Right.
rebellious spirit
Right.
of the South.
Outlaw
that,
country and
Yeah, that doesn't quite hit the same anymore.
right.
But that was very much like a subculture that was in pop culture and the social fabric of America, and it was really cool to watch it be like nice and kind of wholesome. Like, to be honest, like
Yeah.
They all just rallied around this guy
yeah,
Right.
for no reason other than he's doing a cool thing.
yeah,
Right.
He's outsmarting all the police, and
Definitely a Robin Hood or
Totally.
something like that. Like
but a
he
random
was.
person on
Yeah.
the CB radio didn't know that he was bootlegging. They just knew that he had the big rig guy with him if they were listening in on the channel.
right,
Right.
They just wanted to help. He's
Right.
doing a cool thing. Go Bandit. I mean, by the end, they had posters for him.
Yeah,
Right,
there's
right.
that one scene where like that all those women are like on the CB radio waiting for him to come by with a sign just to like watch him
Says,
drive
"Go
by.
Bandit."
Yeah,
Right. Right.
it's pretty cool.
Right.
Pretty
Which is
hilarious. I mean,
It is funny, and it is, man, it is funny because you get some of that stuff now in social media. I remember just a couple days ago seeing a video about a guy who posted pictures of him, like, eating on, like, a telephone pole. And it was like someone had taken a photo of it. And I remember, like, seeing this picture on, like, it just popping up into my feed a bunch of times, and it just said, like, watch me eat an entire rotisserie chicken. And it's like, it'll be my 40th in a row. I've eaten one every day, and it'll be like the 40th day I've eaten it. I'm going to be by that pier, by the old, like by the abandoned Walmart or something, is like all it said. And then I saw, like, months later a follow-up video of, like, somebody walking out, and this guy was out on a huge pier by himself with it, and it on a table, and a huge crowd had come and he just ate a rotisserie chicken. And it's kind of like that vibe to the Go Bandit. Like, yeah, that guy, he's just doing something cool. I want to watch this guy eat a rotisserie chicken, you know? I want to watch him go by.
where was this guy? Can we go watch him eat?
I don't know.
Chicken?
Yeah, I don't
Still
know.
eating chickens? What is he doing
Probably
now?
80th day in a
Right.
row or whatever is that?
Right. So, I mean, talking about, like, some of the social structures, I think you have to talk about the villain.
Buford T. Justice,
Ah.
baby.
What a name.
And what a performance, I think,
Amazing.
by Jackie Gleason.
I didn't even realize it was Jackie Gleason. when
That's
I was
amazing
watching
that
it.
you didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Until we were watching the trailer, I was like, "Oh my god, that was Jackie Gleason."
Yeah.
Which makes why the movie was so big make even more sense. Like Burt Reynolds was huge.
Right.
He was a huge star.
Sally Fields
was massive. But yeah, he was so good.
Yeah.
At being a terrible
Yeah. Just
person.
dad
Such a
and
good villain.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, such a great.
Such
and
a good
comedic
villain.
villains are, like, one of my absolute favorite
The best.
types of characters. Like Judge Smales,
Yeah.
Edward Rooney from Ferris Bueller Day. Like, they're just, like, my favorite types of characters. And this guy's up there, and he was so good.
There's a great juxtaposition between the hero and the villain in their mustaches too. Reynolds,
Yeah.
the big, thick, bushy,
Right,
like
yeah.
virile mustache, and he has a little pencil thing. on
pencil
just
thin.
his
Looks like a
lip.
grease smudge.
Yeah,
Right.
It's gross.
So gross.
And,
And he's always sweaty.
So sweaty. I think that was just real.
It's
I bet
probably,
they-
it's
Right.
probably just
They
real.
were
They
just
couldn't-
filming in the swampy South.
You can't put him in like Sheriff Tan
Yeah.
without all the sweat just coming right
It's
through.
true.
I think the first scene he's in, it's from the top of his collar and maybe 3 or 4 inches out, all the way down the buttons. It's just sweat. It's horrifying.
I wonder.
So
it's so funny if that. I have no idea if that was real or not, or accentuated.
Had to
It's a
be
little bit
real.
of both, right? Like,
Right.
They were probably like, "Oh, he's gonna sweat through all of these." There's like, "Oh
Right.
well, wet him down."
Yeah.
There's also a running bit of his car just getting further and further destroyed.
Right.
It was
Which is-
very Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, very
Probably
Tommy
from-
Boy.
Tommy Boy probably got it. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know the canon of property destruction movies, but this has to be one of like the hallmarks, like one of
Yeah.
the touchstones for like how you do it. right?
Right. I think so.
They destroyed so many cars.
Destroyed a lot of cars in that movie. And Jackie Gleason's like the subtle ways that he like put down his son and how his son was so like subservient and idiotic.
The whole bit of him like holding his hat on.
Holding his hat.
So they go underneath a semi and it shears the top of their police car off. And then they just keep driving it, chasing down Bandit. But his police hat keeps coming off, so he makes his son hold his hat the entire time he's driving.
Right.
And it's just such a funny visual gag of. And at the end, when he's like pissed at his son, he's like, "Who's gonna hold your hat?" And he's like,
Right.
Sorry.
But like the whole thing with like the little like these little despots was in the beginning shown so perfectly by little elements in the movie, because like the first time they're driving, the son says something to his dad, and like his dad's doing something, and I forget what he's doing, but Jackie Gleason's doing something while driving, and I think it takes both hands, and his son reaches over and grabs the wheel and goes, "Get your hand off that wheel!" Like just immediately puts him in his place. It's like, I'm the authority. I do this. Nobody touches my stuff.
Right.
I tell you what
even
to
when
touch.
I'm obviously doing something.
Yeah, you do not
dangerous.
touch anything unless I tell you to.
Now, to be fair to Jackie Gleason, that son was a moron.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him touching the wheel either. But
That's true.
He was so useless. He fell asleep a bunch of times too.
it's the most.
Yeah.
He'd wake up and be like, "Oh, where are we?"
But like how Sally Field, who was supposed to be this urbane, former professional dancer, would ever get at an
On Broadway
altar
for 12 minutes.
with him, also never addressed.
Right.
Is absurd.
Right.
But also like in the realm of just absurd comedies, like fine, doesn't matter.
Sure.
Right, but
Doesn't
also
matter.
the movie moves so fast, especially for a movie from like the late 70s, that like by the time she's like in the car and changing out of her wedding dress, you don't really care anymore.
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
not
like,
the
all right,
point.
All right, we're not, like, and the movie.
And the son's never upset either. You notice that? The son is not upset.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He
He
only
barely even
talks
realizes
about
it
it.
happened.
Yeah, he only
Yeah.
talks about it when his dad does.
Right. And
So
his
it's
dad
like,
was
oh.
just pissed off because it was he felt disrespected.
Yeah, and
That's
she didn't
all it
respect
came
the
down
authority.
to. Him not being respected, and that's unacceptable because I'm a sheriff and I'm the one who commands respect.
Right. And it's because
that's all
he's a
that it was about.
It's because he's a sheriff too, right? He shows no other like leadership qualities. He's not someone that would like have been leading a horde of people because he
Right.
was the best leader. Just the fact that he happened to be the sheriff, and
He was a
be
despot.
respected. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
It was very.
Yeah.
He did not care about his son getting left. He
No.
cared about the fact that it was his son, not
Right.
that it was affecting his son at
none of
all.
his-
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. His son didn't even know he was getting married. It seemed like.
So I was looking at like other little like elements that I thought was so one thing I read about it in I think it was maybe on the Wikipedia page or something, was Billy Bob Thornton, I guess, grew up in, I think it was Arkansas or somewhere, but like right where I guess that movie was supposed to have taken place. And he had a quote that essentially said, to the locals and to us who lived there, that movie was seen as less as cinema and more as a documentary.
Yeah.
And
Was it not a documentary?
yeah, exactly. And I do think there was a lot about like little elements of living down there that even now in 2023, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. And I don't think they're making that up. I think that's probably like, based on some elements of what it was like to live there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people were, learning about it at the, contemporarily as well, which was pretty interesting to me. And when I was saying like it wasn't like political, but there were some like subversive, I think, elements to it, and as defined by Jackie Gleason being the bad guy and some of the stuff he did.
Right.
And like he was saying that I forget what he did, but he called them communists. Like early on, like they're un-American, they're communists.
Sure.
And I forget what it was. It was like for some asinine reason that he was saying that they were un-American, and it was plainly communist.
It's just him mudslinging, right? Like these are the things you don't want to be. These are the bad things, right?
Yeah, it was something to do with about them not respecting his authority, I think.
Right.
And it
By
was
being anti-authority, they're communist. Which
essentially
is hilarious.
Right. And then I thought this was really funny and well done, was the first. So as the bandit's running across state lines, Jackie Gleason's following him across state lines and
Right.
getting on the CB and trying to get the other local authorities involved. And the first one he does is in Arkansas, and it's the local sheriff there is portrayed, I think, as the most competent law officer in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a black guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Another
but they're on
good
CB.
mustache too.
Great
Right.
stash.
Another good stash.
And he's, like I said, competent, seems to be in control of the situation, speaks very authoritatively and stuff like that, and is talking to Gleason about why do you have this jurisdiction? And he's
I'm the most respected lawman
Right.
in all of South.
right, exactly, and I'm on a high speed pursuit and stuff like
High-speed
that.
Pursuit. Yeah.
And then it happens where the bandit jumps a broken bridge. They're following after him, and they stop in time. And then Jackie Gleason smashes into the back of the guy, and then he does fall into the river. And Jackie Gleason, then he is climbing out of the car. The sheriff, the black sheriff, is. And Jackie Gleason says something like, "Hey, boy, do you see the?" Which is completely
Yeah, not okay.
Not okay. Which I think was meant, as this guy's an asshole.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Even in 1977, it was like, this guy
well, that's what I'm
sucks.
saying. It was. I don't know if it was subversive, but it was saying that people like that who are in power
Right, talking to a black kid
suck.
like that. Yeah.
And the guy saying, I'm essentially the guy who you were talking to on the CB.
Yeah.
And he says, what does he say? You sounded taller, is what he said, which is basically what he was saying. You sounded white.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
the way you were speaking, I thought you were a white person
Yeah, he
by the
couldn't
way you
believe
were
it.
talking.
He could
Yeah.
not believe it.
He's like, you sounded taller. And then he turns around and says, what is this world coming to?
Right.
That's all he said. The fact that there's a black sheriff.
Right.
Right.
But that's the bad guy, and it's 1977, where it's like the movie could have itself been racist instead of making fun of the racist guy.
Right.
Which
While
is
still
great.
doing racism, but
While
to
still
show you
doing
that
it.
he's racist.
Right.
Right. And I thought that was a little oh, okay. That will I give a little tip of the cap.
Yeah.
To that, because they could have played into the, hillbilly idiot more, but they really didn't play into that much.
I mean, there's
at
one
all.
sheriff he runs into that he finds in a brothel.
Right,
That
which
which is a trailer.
right
It's a
because
trailer brothel.
because they were fans. The prostitutes were fans of the bandit,
yeah.
so they
Seduced,
preoccupied they preoccupied the local sheriff, and then Jackie Gleason thought it was the bandit, went in and arrested him.
Yep.
And he said, next time you do this, leave your damn badge on or something like that.
Yeah.
Saying obviously I'm not
course
going to
you're-
arrest you
you're
for
gonna
doing
do this.
and you're not
Yeah.
going to be arrested
Not gonna get
obviously
arrested.
for
Yeah.
doing illegal things.
As long
Just-
as you're a
I've known
sheriff.
you're-
Come on, man.
Shit,
Just
yeah.
just have some
Old boys club.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Wear your badge.
Wear your badge while you're at the
right?
brothel.
It's only
Right.
okay to do this if you're a cop.
Some role play stuff they're doing there.
But even that stuff, I don't think you could get away with doing now. I think people would be upset and pissed off talking about like the casual corruption that one little scene like demonstrated. Like he's doing this, the other cop arrests him, and as soon as he says, he's like, "Get the cuffs off of him!" Like yells at him for the fact that they had made a mistake and blames it on his son or somehow.
You would have to demonize him a lot more if it was made now. Now just be like, "Look at this bumbling idiot! What a goof!" And then,
Right.
All right, we'll move on. Mm-hmm. So they make it back to Georgia, and then there's this weird part at the end, right, where it's like double or nothing. Go to Boston, get us clam chowder, which is not the weird part I'm talking about. But he's like about to drive off to get the clam chowder, I guess. And there's this shot where you can see the bandit and the police officer and Buford T. Justice. And he's about to tell him that like the Big Enos is the
he's
bandit,
Big E. He's like,
right?
yeah. He's like, you got to tell me, what do you look like? He's like, oh, I'm down there. I'm a big 6'8" guy in a crazy suit, and I've got my tiny little son with me. I think he calls him a pygmy.
Yeah, pig.
Yeah, and
not great for the pig.
Yeah, and says you can't miss me, and then says, well, I can't lie. You're too good of a guy.
Right.
Look
Which
over
is
your shoulder. Yeah.
Undercuts a lot of the movie. It's like you're the best pursuit of it. It's like
Right.
this guy's stunk.
He's
at
not.
getting you.
He's not good at it.
He's not good at it. He's not someone to be respected. But there's like probably something in that making this movie where like, all right, we spent the first 94 minutes
just clowning on the
clowning
police.
on the police.
Yeah.
We got to throw him a bone at the end. It's still
think.
1977.
Is that what you thought at the time? I didn't
think he was throwing a bone. I thought he was sort of mocking him.
I thought that too.
You think that was mocking?
Yeah, like, oh, I can't lie to you. You're so good. Oh, no one's ever chased me so well.
I took
thought
it
it was
maybe in a
earnest.
third different way. I took it as, this guy chased him from Texas all the way to Georgia.
He kept up.
Never had to go to the gas station once, if I recall.
You know, I thought about that a lot.
No, they did
They
because
did?
he got food. He got that Diablo sandwich
What
or
is a
whatever.
Diablo sandwich? It sounded so good.
I don't know, but he also
There's great debate online about
amazing.
this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing, just disgusting burp from
Yeah.
Gleason. Like it was amazing when he's just like, as he's like trying to choke it down and talking to Burt Reynolds because he doesn't realize that Burt Reynolds is the bandit.
Right.
And just getting his
just
sandwich all
so-
over himself and
Yes.
just being disgusting.
Yeah.
Sloppy eater.
So
It was some sort of like
so
loose meat
good.
sandwich or like a chopped beef
Yeah.
sandwich of some kind, like a barbecue.
And he's
probably.
just like slopping it around, talking with his mouth full.
Yeah.
It's all over his mouth.
Yeah.
Just making him look like a pig.
Yeah.
And then the burp was so good.
Yeah.
Just I had a lot of respect for the way he played that
performance.
character. Yeah, I
Committed
really
to it.
did. I really did.
It was great.
Yeah, and then so at the end, I saw it as Burt Reynolds just being this crazy person that just wants, like, kind of like an adrenaline junkie weirdo, and it's like, all right, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to have this crazy guy chase me because it's funny, and he's an idiot, and he's not going to catch me, so I'm going to show him who I am,
You think
and
he was
then
like
go.
egging him on, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I think he was egging him on.
I thought the movie was
can see
trying to
that.
make like an earnest connection between the two of them, as like the you're crazy, but goddamn, do I respect you kind of thing. Because like Buford T. Justice kind of says about you're the best I've ever chased kind of thing, where it's the son I never had. Like you're the
Well, then, but his next breath is, with that bullshit out of the way, who are you?
Yeah.
Like he is like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is,
I don't know. I thought they were trying to do it earnestly, but
Okay.
not that. You can interpret it a bunch of ways.
Sure.
It was a little bit of just like opening the door to a future. What's
Totally.
going to happen between the
Totally.
bandit?
Right.
Now that would be a
Buford T.
post-credit
Justice.
sequence, right? You gotta
Right.
stay through the credits, and then
100%.
Samuel L. Jackson would show up. And,
I thought about that. I said, is there going to be a post sequence? I was like, no, it's predates.
77.
It predates that. Yeah. So that was one thing that I found interesting, and also the, something that I think was, probably more common to people in rural areas. And again, talking to my dad, I mean, this is something that, happened more than was you've got a outsider coming into your small watering hole. There's a shot or a scene where the truck driver, snowman, goes to get something to eat, and essentially just gets beat up.
Yeah, gets into a fight.
Right, but not.
It's jumped.
He essentially just isn't robbed. Do you notice he isn't robbed? He isn't anything like that. They just wanted to beat the shit out of him for being there.
Right.
And he'd been there before. He knew the owners. It was black-owned business again. Mm-hmm. I thought that was just like little things where they were doing that. I found that kind of interesting. Several minorities were business owners. The funeral home, at least the people drive. I mean, you assumed that they were the people who were, who ran the place was two black guys.
Yeah.
And all that stuff was like, I don't know, maybe that's just my preconceived notions of what the 70s
South were,
or just 70s like Hollywood. Like, what were they showing?
Right.
And it was showing like a much more like multicultural world down there.
Yeah.
And one who was definitely united between like not workers and management, but like this social structure.
Right, the authority and the, I don't know, not oppressed might not be the right word, but the masses.
Right. But anyway, they just beat up the guy for no reason. Yeah. Didn't rob him, didn't do anything, just wanted to beat him up.
He kind of picked a fight,
he did
but I
egg
don't
them on
remember why.
Oh, they did?
They were starting it for sure,
Yeah.
but then he says like something like blah, 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 and then I don't like Greece. Like, I actually went back a couple times to be like, did he say Greeks?
I thought
no,
he said
Greece.
I thought he
Greece.
said Greece, and I was wondering if this was like the movie Grease, like the Greasers.
That's what I
or
took
did
it as.
he wasn't talking about the food, although they did sort of clown
They were a
on
motorcycle
the food
gang.
quite
They
a
were.
bit.
He had mentioned earlier that there was a motorcycle gang in there at the time.
So they're just covered.
They were
in
being
grease
rowdy
because they're motorcycle dudes.
Grease heads, or
Grease
I don't know.
heads, yeah.
He definitely didn't pick the fight because they had his dog and said, "Your dog bit me," and then they threatened to kill the dog.
I don't think my dog bit you.
Right.
And then
He's Fred. Fred
but he also
wouldn't hurt anybody.
Well, it's that thing in between of like, if it was made now, he would have to like to be a character that's lovable. You have to like de-escalate it. But he was just like, I'm not backing down. Screw you guys.
Right.
Against 8 of you.
Right. And
you
then
have my dog.
the guys, the owner of the place came out and said, sorry about that. Didn't call the cops. Didn't do anything to step in.
Right.
Just got the shit kicked out of him. And then
but he brought him his food.
Said sorry about that, and he was like, it's okay, and then just drove off.
Right.
And drove over the motorcycles.
And drove over the
revenge.
motorcycles. Yeah, he did. He did do that.
It's in the trailer.
So
not a spoiler.
Yeah. So I thought that was just an interesting little element as well about like life in the. I don't know how they were portraying like life down there. How maybe there's like a motorcycle gang or just a bunch of bad people and they just like beat you up,
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like the law was really as
right.
There were some weird relationships with the law in that movie, like people breaking the law. Like how much of that was just like silly movie stuff? Like how many times were like a truck? There was the Japanese truck driver who did say bonsai as he did it, but like knocked the door off of the car, the sheriff's car.
Yeah.
And then like, but it was just like, then just kept driving. And like several times they were doing things that were illegal and the cops were just like, oh, you're frustrating me now. What, is there like a accordion in the middle?
It sounds
room?
like someone's playing the accordion.
Yeah, somebody's playing the accordion.
Do you guys hear that? Can you hear that on the
Oh yeah.
You guys listening? I wonder if they can hear it on the if we can listen. Well, somebody playing He's a Jolly Good Fellow on the accordion.
He's probably playing it for Bandit.
Yeah, I feel like that could have been a scene.
Right.
Someone
Exactly.
playing the banjo and the accordion.
It's like having a punk show in Studio A. You know, it's like it's harkening back to those days.
Same.
Yeah.
Another great element of this movie, I don't know if we talked about it very much, the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Slaps.
Jerry Reed.
Eastbound and Down.
It's been in my head all day.
I know, it's so great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of. Yes, this is hard.
It's
but
Christmas music now.
It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, the music was. It was a very southern regional.
Yeah.
Movie.
It's Southern rock, baby.
Right. I mean, the
Little
music
outlaw
was
stuff.
all country. The setting was in the South, and it was interesting. And I also thought that as far as like just how it was, man, it is hard for me to think. I think the themes of rebellion, like all that sort of stuff, was to me like. That's what I kept thinking about. Also, there were certain elements I loved that the Texans said "hoss," and I looked. I was like, I've heard that in music before, and I looked it up, and it's a I guess a Texas saying.
Yeah, big hoss.
And then I looked back at the movie, and only the people from Texas, which is the sheriff and the Big Enos and stuff, they called people hoss, but nobody else said it. It wasn't like everyone was saying that. It was only the Texas people were calling people hoss, which I think means like partner or something.
Yeah, it's like big guy,
buddy,
like horse. So if you're a horse, like you'd work work hard. You're a big dude.
Right.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, I liked that, and I also was just looking at like the how much I didn't realize like that movie must have gotten into the zeitgeist of stuff.
Right, because the CB radio is such a central plot point, and I know that was a cultural thing, but I genuinely don't know if it was it a cultural thing before Smoking the Bandit, or did people watch this and were like all of these people having such an amazing time being on their CB radios and following the Bandit got people into like having CB radios, like what?
Right,
I genuinely don't know.
Well, the next year, the movie Convoy. Came out, and it must have been related to this movie having come out. And then the song Convoy came out as part of that movie.
Yeah.
And then there was the whole Dukes of Hazzard, all that stuff I think was directly based on this movie.
Yeah.
And I think probably more than that as well.
I mean, when you think about it, like in the full context of that, like I can't think of a single movie that has had such a cultural impact, like as this one. Like not like ever, but like it would be almost impossible to have such an impact as people buying CB radios. Like culture is just so fractured now that like not as many people would see the same thing. It wouldn't be like it would be a thing that happened and so fast. It would be something that happened on TikTok for like a week and a half, but like for 2 years, CB radios and trucking being one of the coolest things in pop culture is just mind blowing.
Right. Now that's another thing that I noticed about the movie was the trucking culture, which I think it's a very rural thing because like truck drivers are probably more often than not come from rural parts of the country, and that was, I think, kind of showed an endearing way, these people who are just truck drivers. And also I started looking up into it. I'm like, they come across a convoy and they're like, oh, amazing, we're so safe right now, they're going to protect us, this convoy, and they protect them from the cops. And I was like, what the hell is a convoy other than just a line of people? Like, what makes it a convoy? So I did a little research onto what a convoy was, like that type of convoy, not like a military convoy, but they're meant to be things that are like add an element of like protection by a group, like right, the fact that you're all together, you gain some protection from it. And I was like, well, how does a trucking convoy give you that? And it's based around, they were a real thing.
Yeah.
And it was when a national speed limit was imposed, because I guess there didn't used to be one, but around that time or a little before, they put in a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, a federal speed limit. And a lot of these truckers had turn times that were really short, and they couldn't make their destinations in time if they went 55. So they had to speed, so they would form convoys using their CB radios, and the idea would be they can only pull over one of us.
Right.
So, like, if there's 20 of us, 19 keep going, one of us gets pulled over, and the rest of us make it in time, and maybe it's just like a tax. Like, maybe once out of every 20, I'm the one that gets pulled over.
Much more of the workers uniting.
Yes.
Much stronger.
Yeah,
Right?
They
So
all
this
just
is like,
needed a
so maybe he
union.
was right. This is somewhat of a communist movie. It's a socialist movie.
Right. But I was not expecting any of kind of that from this mainstream movie.
Yeah, no, me either.
With big Hollywood stars in it,
Yeah.
yeah.
If this movie was made now, what beer are they running?
Still Coors.
Still Coors.
Still Coors, yeah.
Coors.
No, now it is
The
Treehouse.
Treehouse.
King Julius.
Yeah.
They're running Treehouse.
Yeah. Where are they going and why?
To the beer temple.
The people are a lot less.
No, they're running fatheads to the beer
They're
temple.
running
Yeah, right.
fatheads to the beer temple. It's a real short drive.
Yeah, they have to get it from Indiana into Chicago.
Ohio.
Right.
Oh, it's in Indiana. I guess.
Yeah, it's already in Indiana.
Yeah, right.
So,
But the problem is that the Skyway is always backed up.
That's right.
What are you going to do?
right.
Yeah.
The local cops.
They don't have an easy pass.
Yeah, it would definitely be Treehouse now.
Yeah.
Got to
Or
get
maybe it would be Pliny. I could see it be Pliny.
Oh, yeah.
Right, gotta
Yeah.
get Pliny.
Trucking
Yeah.
Pliny.
right. We're
This-
trucking Pliny.
This is the first. Is this the first like beer trade in popular culture? Like that.
Ooh.
I'm ISO.
ISO
Is Big
Coors.
Enos the most ISO person in popular culture?
Yeah, he did. Big Enos
Yeah.
was the most ISO person.
Yeah. You think Eric and I are ISO? Look at Big Enos.
Right. That dude is fiending for
Yeah.
some Coors.
I don't even know.
400
if our
cases of
yeah,
it.
80 grand. With inflation,
So I looked.
a lot of money.
I actually looked
That's
into
true.
that.
Yeah, what is that
I
nowadays?
pulled up the CPI inflation calculator.
that's a
which is
website I go to way more than I would like to
It's a
admit.
.gov website, so it
Wow.
feels legit.
And I was on there yesterday.
Yeah,
For this same reason.
No.
I was on it for
Should have
this.
been,
for
but-
this.
80K
And
is
so 80K in today's dollars. So I just set it to January 77. It gave me an option for a month. Whatever.
January's fine.
It was probably summer, but we're not going to take points
Right.
off.
I mean, all right, I'll change it to.
But
I'll
yeah, but it
change
was
to-
probably
how about
filmed in the
August?
76, so
Sure, so
there
we're
you
gonna
go.
be technical
Written
about
in
it.
76, so just say January
All
77.
right, so January 77, 80K has the same buying power in October 2023, because that's the latest I can go.
Mm-hmm.
$420,746.
Wow. So
So
this
he's,
was
a lot of
he's getting
Pliny.
almost $500,000
and a car. And a car.
and a
In a
car.
car.
I also looked up
Then double or nothing.
What's he going to do with all that beer? That's 400 cases of beer that theoretically wasn't shipped that far because it spoils quickly. Like
It was the party. It was for the party when their guy won.
well, that's a lot.
Because he's
of beer.
thirsty.
That's right. There we go.
And, in Billy Madison, when he's trying to be cool and he's, like, out of touch because he's from, like, the 80s, what car does he roll up in? A
Yeah.
T-top
Yeah.
Firebird, which is the car that he's in a Trans Am. And I will also look this up. That car doubled in sales the year after
Oh,
that
yeah.
movie came out.
CB radios and Trans Ams just
Right.
going gangbusters.
Right? Yeah. So doubled that car's sales in a year. Do you think that Trans Am or Coors paid any money to be in that movie?
So I was thinking about it. I couldn't find anything on the internet about.
Did it predate that sort of
I-
thing?
Yeah, I think it might have. But probably was something where they had to get permission to use Coors, but
Right.
I don't think they would have paid now it would be such blatant product placement that you would know they would be getting paid.
Right.
But I think that's what the story was.
Right.
Well, I thought the same. I thought there's no way they paid for this. But then I noticed when there's some teens trying to pick parts off of Sally Field's car.
Yeah.
And the sheriff shows up. One of them is wearing a Coors shirt.
Yes.
I don't know. That just seemed a little on the nose
I
for it to
noticed that
be
too.
like truck full of Coors. When they get to the warehouse where the Coors is, it's sort of like opening the gates. Oh my God, look at all this.
Oh, it's Coors.
But then the guy's got the shirt on too.
Did you notice? Remember when there was that whole like group of young kids who are employed by the hot pants girl or whatever her name was
At the snack shop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the guys is in an old hot rod, and he's got the four on the floor with the big like shifter.
Doesn't he have a ham?
It's a ham shifter.
Yeah.
You did pick up on that.
Yeah, it's a ham shifter.
It was a ham shifter. So I did notice that one, and like that probably could have been just some local dude's car.
Yeah.
Too. Like that's have happened back
Looked
in
like a
those
Model
days.
T or something.
Yeah, it was
That's
cool. Which
old.
is what those cars were. They were old
Yeah.
cars that they found in junkyards that they turned into hot rods.
Right.
But
and hot rods originally, like the whole thing NASCAR started as bootlegging.
yeah, that's
They
true.
would soup cars up to try to beat the police.
Yeah.
Nice little tie in there for you.
And then there was one other. They were talking about product placement and Coors. Oh, did anyone else notice that he just completely steals the beer?
Yeah.
Breaks in, kicks the door open,
Yeah.
loads it up, and then doesn't give him
Crashes
the money.
into it. Yeah.
Doesn't give him the money that he was given to buy the beer,
Right.
and says, "Leave them a note."
Yeah, write the invoice.
For big Enos, and then the guy's like, I don't have time, and just
Yeah.
throws it, and then they
Snowman-
just
Snowman can't
steal the
be
beer.
bothered.
Yeah.
They just stole 400 cases of beer.
But then they don't keep it. They don't actually care about it.
No one drinks a beer in the entire
No.
movie. Like, that's
No one's drinking beer.
Yeah, barely.
Maybe in the restaurant, someone in the background might.
Yeah,
have
there's
been, but
a little
And
bit
this
of
was-
beer drinking.
and this is like
but not much.
pre Mothers Against Drunk Driving, where like
Right.
drinking and driving in the 70s was like people
Right.
just did that
Right.
like a lot.
Did you notice though? I did. No seatbelts in that movie.
No.
None.
Sally
No.
Field's like upside down for half
Right.
the movie,
Yeah.
like laying in the.
she jumps in his lap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even when they're just driving, she's like, "You're doing 100 miles an hour. No seatbelts." The
Yeah.
cops never have seatbelts,
No.
Right.
unless they didn't have shoulder.
Oh, maybe.
They might
Yeah,
not have
might have
had
been. I think
shoulder.
they
They might
don't.
have
I
had
think they just
shoulder.
They
Bandit
was-
was definitely not
Yeah,
even
they just weren't
even a
wearing
lap belt.
seatbelts.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
No, and the Dukes definitely
I mean,
didn't either. 'cause
There
they
were
would
like
just jump
whole
and go.
scenes where her legs were the only thing you saw,
Yeah.
Right,
like while they were having conversations theoretically.
right.
But going 100 miles an hour when her head's like underneath the glove compartment.
That's whiplash.
Yeah, it's like you're not
Every
talking.
bump in the road.
Right.
That,
Forget
and the whole
it.
that conceit of her being like, I didn't realize you were going 100 miles an hour. It's like the it's a convertible. Like I can tell I'm going 100 miles an hour when my car. I don't have like the windows are up. Like you
Right.
know you're going fast.
Oh yeah. Every time they had Sally Field on camera, the top's down and her hair was flat,
Yeah.
barely blowing in the breeze.
Right.
That stands out for me.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
somebody with a lot of hair.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Little inconsistencies. I don't know if they were really driving.
Loving the older movies where folks are driving. They look away from the road for
Yeah.
solid
Doing
10,
100, looking
15
away from the road,
seconds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the roads were probably worse back then. So like
yeah.
his car didn't get destroyed. How is that possible? We like talk about that. He was going in and out of like the gulches between 2-lane highways.
Drove through a pond.
Yeah.
Drove through a pond.
Yeah.
Drove through
They
a.
forded the river.
He went through a stands. He went through stands in a football game, like
yeah.
a
Like
Pee Wee football
solid
game.
wood.
Like some of the things that they did were completely illegal and dangerous
Incredibly
and not
dangerous.
cool. Like
Yeah.
just stole all the beer, almost like ran over a group of children. Sally Fields did, and he's like, "Watch the kids,
Right.
and just like smashes
Women-
into the
Women
grandstand
can't drive, I guess. You know.
and like smashes through the grandstands. And then instead of people being upset, it's just like the theme song kicks in. We're
Yeah.
going
Yeah, back to the
eastbound
ground.
down. Yeah,
Like,
just
oh,
like
that scamp. You know?
those Duke boys. Yeah, that stuff was hilarious as well.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to watch this movie again anytime soon.
We showed
but
to your kids.
No, because there's definitely some language
Sure.
in it. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, maybe I would, I don't really have an interest. Of all the movies out there, I don't know if, like, Smokey and the Bandit's the one that I need to get my kids to watch right now.
Right.
But
No, it's much less racist than you would expect from the 70s.
I did have them watch Better Off Dead just this past week.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And I thought that movie was not going to stand up. Movie's still hysterical.
Huh.
Very funny. Definitely worth watching.
I don't know if I've
Alright.
ever even seen it.
John Cusack?
Oh, it's
I
classic.
don't think so.
Oh, it's classic.
Classic.
And it's still very funny, and it's very well written, and the characters are quite funny.
Alright.
I don't know if there's any character as good as Buford T. Justice. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Buford T. Justice.
Gotta have a T.
Yeah, he...
Buford. You don't see a lot of kids named Buford. How
Right.
many kids are in your kid's class named Buford?
Buford, Enos,
Enos,
Cletus.
Cletus.
I mean, those are three of the main characters' names. You don't know Bandit's name. Did they ever give his
Bo.
I
name?
think
isn't
I
it?
saw Bo on
Bo.
the Wikipedia, maybe.
So you got
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Bo,
it's Bo. She calls him Bo.
Bo,
Like, he tells her his name is Bo.
Buford,
she gets to know it.
Enos, Cletus. And what was Junior's name?
Junior.
Junior.
So I guess he was...
Well, he would have
He
to
was
be
probably
Buford as
Buford.
well.
He was
Buford.
Buford.
Buford Jr.
So, I mean, those are all
are
the
some
names I
names.
can think of. Those are some names. Yeah. Yeah. We got a party going on next door.
Something is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
It's not very hard to concentrate, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I've figured out a way to decently block it off. But, yeah. So, anything else about this movie that we need to mention?
No, I don't think so. I think that covers it. It is a fun movie to watch. It's not very beer centric. Like,
No.
as a kid, my memory of it was that the beer is much more prevalent. Probably because I was a kid, and anytime you saw like beer branding, you're like, oh, this whole movie's about beer.
Right.
And I thought they were driving it all the way from Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in my kid brain, I was like, well, I didn't know where Texas.
Right.
I didn't know Texarkana was.
Texarkana.
Sounds
I had to
like
look it up on
noises.
the map. Where
It
did
just
anyone else
sounds like
look up where
noises.
Texarkana was?
Yeah.
It's right on the border, right?
It's
Texas,
right on the
Arkansas.
border. It's like the
like
eastern edge of
it's
Texas.
like Michiana around here.
Right.
Yes, it's just exactly like that.
But yeah, as a kid, I just assumed they had to go to Colorado and back in 28
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. Having never seen it.
never
when,
driven, having never drank.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
When
Yeah.
Chris was telling me we were going to talk about Smoking the Bandit, I'm like, all right, let me watch this. It's about bringing beer back from Colorado, and then it just wasn't.
I think he said that because I said that.
No, he
That's
didn't
what-
say that to me. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Just sort of with this movie ephemerally in my mind,
Yeah.
having never seen it, and then I start watching it, and it's not actually about that
Yeah.
at all.
right.
It's just a romp.
I did read that like bringing beer back from Coors essentially from Colorado or whatever was a huge thing.
Oh, huge thing. I know my dad has done it.
There were like
I know
multiple
lots of people
presidents
who
who
did
did
that.
it. Like,
Yeah.
it was another cultural,
Yes.
a known thing to do.
For sure. Yeah. I will have to say, like, we mentioned it in Strange Brew, like, oh, there's definitely things you couldn't get away with then. And I think there was, like, if you were saying the way there was, like, objectification, like sexual objectification, I think
Yeah.
was not done in a way that you could do it now
It's
or
still,
would do
things
it
like that
now.
are absolutely still done now, but
Oh, 100%.
it was much more. There was no like empowerment aspect to this one. There's no like look at her like I don't know. It was more just like here's Sally Field's butt for like for 3 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, it
Although
was just
not
like
not a
pretty lady.
helpless not
No,
a helpless person.
Pretty strong.
Yeah.
character.
I mean, she
Yeah.
drove. She got
Decently.
away, and
She made decisions.
Right.
yeah,
She wasn't just like, Bandit, what should we do?
She
Right.
had like the only person who has like any sort of actual backstory
Right.
is her. Everyone
Yeah.
else
Right.
is just like we
Know
just
nothing
do
about
the things we
anybody
do.
else.
She said she
Right.
was a dancer. She was on Broadway for 12 minutes. She like
Right.
and also not the the trope that I think you see a lot in like the 80s like Temple of Doom and stuff like that, of like the woman just being this like Princess in the Pea, like diva, looking down at him because she was very much supposed to be like cultured and was asking him,
right,
like, do you know about this person? Do you know about that person? Do you know about, I don't know, Gershwin or something? He's like, nope,
right.
no, I don't. Yeah, Sondheim. And, but not in a, like, ew, you're gross, you're icky. Right. It was more like, I kind of like you. Do we have anything in common?
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't know that wasn't necessarily a I like that they didn't just play into that trope of the woman being this like
harpy, like.
Yeah, just like, ugh, you're so crass in this, but now I'm falling for you. You know, like
I'm falling for how masculine you are and how terribly you treat me.
Right. It almost like
there is a little bit of that.
There's a little, and especially early on, he is like the way he expresses the fact that he likes her is by basically saying like, you're like a frog, you're kind of cute and this and that, and I want to jump on you.
He's negging.
Yeah. There is definitely a little bit of that, especially in the beginning.
Right.
But then I would say by the middle of the movie, that's kind of gone. But
they sort of trust each other, and then like when they stop and he's trying to just leave her at this truck stop, and she says, "No, I'm not staying at a truck stop."
She wanted to. She said she wanted to leave, get left at the truck stop, didn't she?
He was going to leave.
Like, I don't actually.
And then she said, "No, I'm not going to stay here. Let's just go." And she's driving the car, and he's just like,
which is symbolic,
okay,
right?
Cool
for like how their relationship's gone.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, I'm driving this relationship now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would have expected the stereotype for him to be like, "Get out of the driver's seat. What do you think you're doing?"
Yeah,
right.
He just he just hopped in and said,
okay.
"Well, we got to go. Let's go."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so I think there were elements of it, and there was some language I think that wouldn't be used, but not. It was way more. There was way less of that than I was expecting, because I was like, okay,
this is probably a PG movie, right?
Yeah, but even like the stuff that I don't know
by today's standards,
yeah.
There was a whole thing on the Wikipedia about the censorship they had to do for TV.
Oh, really?
But like the censorship was so much tighter.
Right.
When that was on TV.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And that turned into one of the Hot Wheels cars that they made from the Trans Am. That like it said "scum bum" on it, because that was the term that they overdubbed for TV.
Oh, for some bitch.
Yeah.
Which was the way he said.
Bum.
Gleason said, "You some bitch." Yeah, was awesome. They also were clever in. He's like the one guy's like, "You got to get this piece of shit off the road." The one sheriff, and he keeps like, "Don't." It's like, "My young son is here. Please don't use that language." And he keeps saying it, and then
you can't drive
by
that
the
piece
end,
of shit on the highway.
Right? And then by the end, he says,
"It's gonna be busy."
and also is perfect for the character too. And there's a truck that goes, burr, burr, but he says like something like, "Go fuck yourself" on the way as he's driving away, you know?
Yeah.
But you can see that he's saying it.
Yeah.
Like he's actually saying it, but the horn.
Yeah.
So that was a clever way. And the same one that in the trailer, I think the word ass is kind of like bleeped
I
out.
think they say it in the trailer.
Oh,
something else. I think that horn that you were talking about is in the trailer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think. I don't know. That was almost an hour ago.
Right.
How am I supposed to remember that?
So, yeah. Thanks for the suggestion, Mike.
Thanks. I'm glad we rewatched it. I kind of like going to these movies being movies I haven't seen in a long time.
Right.
Like, I hadn't seen Strange Brew since I was a tiny kid, if I had seen it at all.
Yeah, I was telling Shana I've probably not seen it in as long as she hasn't seen it, and she had never seen it. Yeah. So,
I think this objectively a better movie than Strange Brew.
Yes.
But Strange Brew is so weird and quirky and silly that I can't tell which one I liked better. I think I might have liked Strange Brew better.
I mean, there were the funnier there were elements that were just I found so hysterical
Yeah.
in Strange Brew, and
Yeah.
like the banter was so good.
Yeah.
Then again, Buford T. Justice is
good.
now like one of my favorite characters
In the history of cinema.
in the history of cinema. Correct. No, he's just one of my
Charles
favorite.
Foster Kane. Buford T. Justice.
Well, a question I do
Fred.
ask is like, who are the
And
greatest?
Fred.
Yeah, and
I've
Fred.
asked multiple
And
like,
Fred.
who are the greatest comedic villains
That's a
of
good
all
one.
time? Like because
He's up there.
and I have never put him on my list, but he is 100% on my list now.
yeah. He's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because you do like hate him, but
It's
you
played
don't-
so well.
But it's so perfect. Like you don't like despise him, right? You still
Yeah.
kind of are like, all right,
Yeah, he's the bad guy. You want him to lose.
yeah, of course.
But you can't wait
But
to
you-
see what he does.
But
Right.
yeah, but you want to
But
see
you
him on
like
the
seeing
screen
him on
because
screen,
his
yeah.
scenes are funny.
They're so funny.
Yeah, because he's just a funny guy.
Yeah.
Good actor. So yeah, and anything in closing that either of you would like to say about the movie or other?
It's a good time to drink dark lagers in Chicago. Unrelated to anything. It's a good time to drink some dark lagers.
Yes, yes. I agree. I tend to.
I'll triple that.
All right. Well, we will be back next week. I got to figure out what we're doing next week. I think you and I have to start coming up with some more
Some new shows.
new shows. But one thing that I've been getting asked to do is people want Jet Beardy. So we have to do another one. We can't do it too often, but maybe in the next several months we'll do another Jet Beardy.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of people like that.
yeah. And if there's any other ideas for shows, if you're still listening, because, I mean, producer Serge's finger is like on the button. Send them to insiders at craftbeertemple.com, or you can mail your show suggestions to 3173 North Elston Avenue in Chicago, 60618. That's the Beer Temple. Let us know, like, what sort of stuff you like us talking about. Do you like when we have this sort of show or a Jeopardy show? Or do you like when we have, like, Vinny from Russian River on with Ron Jeffries to talk about, the rise and fall of American Wild Ales?
I think it's definitely going to be Smoking the Bandit is what those people want.
Yeah,
We should have been
exactly.
drinking Route beer this whole time.
We should have been drinking Coors.
They have a smoke
Should've
beer
been
on
drinking
draft right
Coors.
now. We've
true.
made huge mistakes. Actually,
Should we start over?
I didn't.
Yeah,
Serge,
we should.
erase
Okay.
this, Serge. We're going to start over.
All right, let's start over, starting right now.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.